Right now, there are people quietly driving to their nearest Tractor Supply, walking past the work boots and the pet food, and filling their carts with items that most people have never even considered buying there. And when you finish this video, you are going to understand exactly what they know that most shoppers don't, and you are going to wish you had started sooner. Here is the situation in plain numbers. Consumer prices spiked again in early 2026. Food prices are projected to rise by 3.6% this year, and that forecast was calculated before the full ripple effects of the Middle East energy disruption worked their way through fertilizer costs, fuel costs, and freight costs. The effects of these disruptions do not disappear overnight. Supply chains take weeks, sometimes months, to normalize. And there is a window right now, a specific, documented, and very real window, where the prices on the items in this video are more affordable than they are going to be in 6 months. Now here is what makes this video different from every other inflation prep list you have seen. We are not talking about Amazon gear or generic survival websites. We are talking about Tractor Supply, a store that most people associate with chicken feed and cowboy boots, but a store that, if you know which shelves to look at, functions as one of the most powerful inflation hedges available to ordinary households right now. And the 13 items on this list are not random. Every single one is specific to what Tractor Supply actually carries, priced at what they actually charge, and selected for its direct economic value as an inflation hedge. And I want you to stay until item 7. Because item 7 is something that Tractor Supply almost doesn't want you to know they carry, and it has been quietly used by people who actually know their way around a farm for decades. That one is going to surprise you. If this kind of practical, no-panic financial preparedness is what you want more of, hit subscribe right now because we cover this stuff every week. Let's get into it. Item 1. Chick starter feed and laying pellets. The Backyard Protein Hedge. The very first item on this list sounds like it's for farmers. It's not. It's for anyone who is watching their grocery bill climb month after month and wants to do something concrete about it. And that item is laying hen feed from Tractor Supply's Dumore, or Producer's Pride line. Here's the economic case in plain language. A laying hen costs around $5 to $25 depending on breed and age. She produces roughly 250 to 300 eggs per year. At current grocery store egg prices, that is between $60 and $90 worth of eggs annually from a single bird. The feed to sustain her for a year costs roughly $55 to $70. Based on current TSC prices, the math works. It works clearly. But here is what most people get wrong about this entire category. They buy the hens, they set up the coop, and then they buy feed week to week, month to month, paying whatever the current price is. What they should be doing is buying a 90-day buffer of feed right now, at today's prices, because livestock feed inflation has consistently outpaced general food inflation in recent years, and there is every reason to expect that pattern to continue. The pro tip here is Tractor Supply's Neighbors Club loyalty program. During Chick Days, which runs from March through May, TSC regularly offers bonus points events on feed purchases. That means you can stack a loyalty bonus on top of bulk pricing and effectively reduce your cost per bag by 15 to 20% compared to buying outside that window. A 90-day feed stockpile for 4 hens costs roughly $44 to $52 at current prices. That is a fixed, predictable cost that insulates you from whatever egg prices do between now and summer. But what you feed your animals is only half the equation. What you feed your soil is the other half. And that brings us to item 2. Item 2. Garden lime and soil amendments. The invisible price lock. Walk to the back of your nearest Tractor Supply. Find the garden section. And look for the bags of pulverized garden lime stacked near the soil amendments. This is one of the most overlooked purchases in the entire store, and it has a direct, measurable impact on how much food your garden actually produces. Here is the science in one sentence. Soil pH controls whether your plants can absorb the nutrients already in the ground. If your soil is too acidic, and in most of the United States, especially the Southeast and Pacific Northwest, it is, your tomatoes, beans, squash, and leafy greens are working at 40 to 60% of their potential yield, regardless of how much you water, fertilize, or tend them. A $12 bag of lime from Tractor Supply that treats 1,000 square feet of garden can double or triple your vegetable output this season. That is not marketing language. That is University of Georgia Cooperative Extension research. That is University of Vermont agricultural data. That is documented agronomic science. What most people get wrong is buying seeds first and soil prep never. They spend $30 on vegetable seeds, plant them in untreated acidic soil, get a mediocre harvest, and conclude that home growing is not worth the effort. The soil is the problem, not the seeds, and the lime costs less than a bag of chips. Pro tip. TSC also carries inexpensive soil pH test kits for around $8 to $12. Buy the test kit, test your soil first, and then buy the appropriate amendment. Overliming is a real problem, and it is entirely avoidable. Spend 10 minutes with a test kit before you spend anything else on garden inputs. Now, seeds without soil prep are wasted money. But the right seeds in properly prepared soil are one of the most powerful financial decisions a household can make right now. And Tractor Supply's seed aisle has a specific item that almost nobody is talking about. Item 3. Heirloom seed packets and cover crop seed, the perpetual food factory. Tractor Supply's seed aisle carries non-GMO heirloom vegetable varieties for under $3 per packet. These are the same seeds being repackaged and sold on survival websites and prepper marketplaces for $8 to $15 per packet, sometimes more. The seeds are identical. The branding is different. The price is dramatically different. Here is why heirloom seeds specifically belong on this list, and not hybrid seeds. Heirloom varieties are open-pollinated, meaning you can collect seeds from your harvest and replant them the following season indefinitely. One $2.5 packet from Tractor Supply becomes a perpetual food source that requires no repeat purchasing as long as you learn to save seeds properly. Hybrid seeds do not work this way. Their offspring do not reliably reproduce the parent plant's traits, which means you are back at the store buying new seeds every single year. A full vegetable garden planted from TSC heirloom seeds, tomatoes, beans, squash, cucumbers, peppers, greens, and root vegetables costs under $40 in seed purchases and can produce $800 to $1,200 worth of groceries annually, depending on your region and growing season. What most people get wrong here is buying only warm season seeds and missing the cool season window entirely. Tractor Supply carries cover crop seed blends, clover, winter rye, hairy vetch, that serve double duty. They suppress weeds between growing seasons, restore nitrogen to depleted soil, and can be turned under as green manure to build organic matter. That is 3 functions from one $12 bag of seed, and most home gardeners have never heard of the practice. Pro tip. Buy both your warm season vegetable seeds for summer planting and a cool season cover crop blend at the same time. You can plant the cover crop within weeks of purchasing it and start building your soil now while you wait for planting season. Seeds get your food growing, but protecting what you grow from the predators that will absolutely try to take it is where most suburban and backyard homesteaders, and that leads us to item 4. Item 4. Solar-powered electric fence charger, the garden and livestock protector. Here is something that will genuinely surprise you if you have never grown food seriously. A single raccoon family can destroy a 400 square foot corn planting in one night. A few rabbits can level an entire row of lettuce by morning. Deer will find your bean plants and strip them before you have harvested a single pod. You can grow the most well-prepared soil and use the best heirloom seeds on the market, and wildlife will harvest your crop before you do. The solution, used by farmers for decades, is a solar-powered electric fence charger. And Tractor Supply carries them starting at around $55 to $75 for a Zariba 10-mile solar charger, a unit that can protect up to 2.5 acres using a single wire of polywire fencing with no electrical wiring required whatsoever. What most people get wrong is thinking electric fencing is complicated, industrial, or only relevant to people with cattle. It is not. A single strand of polywire at 8 to 10 inches off the ground around a raised bed garden, powered by a small solar charger, delivers a short, safe, memorable shock that teaches raccoons, rabbits, and deer to stay away. It does not harm animals. It simply teaches them to find their food elsewhere. Pro tip. The solar models require no batteries or wiring to the grid. You mount the charger on a post, run your polywire, and that is it. 30 minutes of installation, one afternoon, Protects months of growing effort. If you have invested in seeds and soil amendments from items 2 and 3, this is the item that actually protects that investment. The cost-to-value ratio here is almost absurd. Now, here is the one that nobody's talking about. And I mean genuinely nobody. Item 5. Veterinary grade wound care and antiseptic supplies. The medical prep you can actually buy. Walk into Tractor Supply's veterinary supply aisle. Take a long look at what is on those shelves. Because what you will find there is veterinary grade wound care, antiseptic solutions, wound irrigators, iodine preparations, and bandaging supplies that are used daily by working farmers and ranchers across America at prices that are 30 to 50% lower per unit than the equivalent products at a pharmacy. Let's be specific. A 32-ounce bottle of povidone iodine solution, betadine, at Tractor Supply runs approximately $14 to $18. The same compound in an 8-ounce bottle at a pharmacy runs about $12. You are paying comparable money for 4 times the volume. And povidone iodine is one of the most broadly effective topical antiseptics ever documented in wound care medicine. Tractor Supply also carries Vetericin Plus wound and skincare spray, which is a hypochlorous acid formulations specifically designed for wound irrigation and infection prevention. These products were developed for livestock use, but the underlying chemistry is identical to wound care products used in human medicine. What most people get wrong is spending $80 on a pre-assembled first aid kit from Amazon that contains 15 bandages, 3 antiseptic wipes, and a pamphlet. Tractor Supply's veterinary aisle lets you build a genuinely comprehensive wound care kit, antiseptics, irrigation solutions, non-stick bandaging, and wound spray for comparable money with dramatically more supply volume. Pro tip: combine TSC's antiseptic supplies with a purpose-built trauma first aid kit from a reputable tactical first aid brand that includes a tourniquet, hemostatic gauze, and chest seal. TSC covers the volume wound care. The tactical kit covers the serious trauma response. Together, they cost less than a single urgent care visit. And with pharmaceutical supply chains still under pressure from the energy disruption, the next item on this list connects directly to keeping your household running during an extended grid outage. Keep that in mind as we move to Item 6. Item 6. Lodge Cast Iron Cookware, Tractor Supply's best-kept kitchen secret. Tractor Supply stocks Lodge Cast Iron Cookware. The same Lodge that sells at Williams-Sonoma and Sur La Table for 40% more than TSC's price. A Lodge 12-inch skillet at Tractor Supply runs around $30 to $40. That same skillet at a kitchen specialty retailer is $55 to $80. The product is identical. The shelf it sits on is different. Lodge Manufacturing was founded in 1896 in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee. It is the oldest American cast iron manufacturer still in continuous operation. These are not imported, thin-walled pieces. They are the real thing, and they will outlast every nonstick pan you have ever owned by approximately 100 years. Here is why cast iron belongs specifically on an inflation preparedness list. It works on gas stovetops, electric coil burners, wood fires, camp stoves, and open flames equally well. When the grid fails, when natural gas supply is interrupted, when you are cooking on a propane camp stove or an open fire in the backyard, your non-stick pan is useless, and your cast iron is perfect. One piece of cookware that works on every heat source is exactly the kind of infrastructure-independent tool. What most people get wrong is the seasoning. People buy cast iron, cook bacon in it once, put it in the dishwasher, and then complain that it sticks and rusts. The rule is simple. Wash only with hot water and a brush, dry it immediately on the stove over low heat, and apply a thin layer of flaxseed oil or lard while it is still warm. Do that 3 times, and you have a virtually non-stick surface that improves with every use. Pro tip: TSC's Lodge combo sets, skillet plus lid, or skillet plus Dutch oven, offer better value than individual pieces. The 5-quart Dutch oven handles soups, stews, bread, and one-pot meals from campfire to kitchen stove without modification. Cast iron handles your cooking anywhere. But what fuels that cooking is where Item 7 comes in, and this one has a price trajectory that makes early buying genuinely urgent. Item 7. Propane tanks and the TSC Refill Advantage. Inflation arbitrage in the fuel aisle. Here is the thing about propane that most people do not know, and it is specific to how Tractor Supply operates. Most people buy propane through tank exchange. They show up at the cage outside the store, hand in their old 20-pound tank, pay $25 to $30, and take a new one. What they do not know is that exchange tanks are often sent back with 2 to 4 pounds of propane still in them, which the exchange company keeps. You are paying for gas you did not use. And at the same time, the exchange network's pricing is tied directly to natural gas and crude oil prices, which have spiked significantly in 2026. Tractor Supply sells its own refillable propane tanks in larger sizes, 30-pound and 100-pound tanks in their farm and outdoor section. The 100-pound tank holds approximately 23.6 gallons of propane. At a local propane dealer, getting that tank filled runs roughly $60 to $90 depending on your region. That works out to $2.5 to $3.8 per gallon, compared to $5 to $6.5 per gallon through the exchange network. A family cooking 3 meals per day on propane burns roughly 1 gallon of propane per week under normal use. One filled 100-pound tank is 5 to 6 months of cooking fuel bought at today's price. If propane continues to track natural gas upward over the next 2 quarters, that tank you filled in April is going to look extremely good in purchasing power terms. What most people get wrong is assuming that the 20-pound exchange tank is the standard. It is the most expensive and least efficient way to buy propane at scale. The larger refillable tank has a higher upfront cost of about $80 to $120 for the tank itself, but it pays that back within 2 to 3 fill cycles compared to the exchange network. Pro tip: Tractor Supply also carries propane hose adapters and camp stove fittings that connect a 100-pound tank directly to standard camp stove burner heads. One large tank can now run your outdoor camp stove, your standard barbecue grill, and your emergency indoor burner using the appropriate adapter for each. Keep that propane discussion in mind, because item 9 connects back to it in a way that specifically addresses what happens when you run out of fuel options entirely. But first, right here, at item 7, I want to make a quick point. If you are getting value out of this breakdown, take 3 seconds and drop a comment below with the item number you are most likely to buy first. It helps the algorithm get this video to more people who need it, and it takes you literally 2 seconds. Now let's keep moving. Item 8. Food-grade water storage barrels, TSC's agricultural grade advantage. Tractor Supply sells 55-gallon food-grade polyethylene drums. These are the same material, the same FDA food contact grade HDPE plastic, as the survival water storage barrels sold on prepper websites for 2 to 3 times the price. The difference is the label on the outside. The material properties are identical. A family of 4 needs 1 gallon of water per person per day for drinking and basic sanitation. One 55-gallon barrel provides 13 days of drinking water for that family. 2 barrels cover 26 days. At $50 to $90 per barrel through Tractor Supply, that is a 26-day water security window. Compare that to buying water in 1-gallon jugs from a grocery store. You would need 55 separate jugs to match 1 barrel, and the per-gallon cost is 4 to 5 times higher. What most people get wrong is either not storing water at all, trusting completely in municipal supply, or storing it in non-food-grade containers that leach chemicals over time. TSC's agricultural drums were engineered for food and agricultural liquid storage. They meet the food contact standards you need. Tractor Supply also carries water treatment solutions in their farm section, bleach concentrate and water treatment tablets, at prices that reflect agricultural purchasing. A standard gallon of unscented household bleach at the concentration of 8.25% sodium hypochlorite treats approximately 3,800 gallons of water for drinking at 8 drops per gallon, according to CDC water purification guidelines. That gallon of bleach at TSC's agricultural price is one of the highest value per dollar emergency purchases on this entire list. Pro tip: when filling your barrels, add the appropriate amount of bleach per gallon based on your starting water quality. Seal the barrel, label it with the fill date, and store it in a cool location away from direct sunlight. Rotate and refill every 6 to 12 months. Water storage gives you time. The next item gives you the ability to generate your own power indefinitely, and it is where Tractor Supply's catalog. Item 9. Solar battery tender and rechargeable battery system. TSC's off-grid power foundation. Walk into Tractor Supply's automotive section. Look for the solar battery tenders and maintenance chargers. These were designed for farmers who need to keep tractor batteries, UTV batteries, and equipment batteries maintained through winter storage. But they serve a second function that almost nobody in the preparedness space has pointed out. A quality solar battery tender from TSC, priced around $35 to $55 depending on model and wattage, can charge standard rechargeable NIMH AA and AAA batteries through a USB adapter, and it does so completely free of charge using sunlight. Combined with a set of Eneloop Pro or comparable NIMH rechargeable batteries, you have a system for keeping every radio, flashlight, headlamp, kids' essential device, and small medical equipment running indefinitely, with zero ongoing cost and zero grid dependence. Here is the math that makes this item genuinely remarkable. A quality NIM rechargeable AA battery costs around $3. A disposable EBOA battery at current prices runs approximately 0.4. Eneloop Pro batteries are rated for 500 recharge cycles. 500 charges at 0.4 dollars equivalent value per charge is $200 worth of battery power from a $3 investment. Minus the initial $3 that is roughly $197 in savings over the life of that one battery. Multiply that across a set of 8 rechargeable batteries and a $50 SC solar tender, and this system pays for itself completely within the first 3 to 4 months of use. What most people get wrong is jumping straight to a $1,200 solar generator before covering this $80 foundational layer. The solar generator is the right purchase eventually, but the rechargeable battery system is the layer that keeps your radios, headlamps, and essential small devices running first, and it costs 15 times less. Pro tip: TSC's battery tenders come in 5-watt and 10-watt solar panel configurations. The 10-watt version charges batteries meaningfully faster on partially cloudy days, worth the extra $15 to $20 for a preparedness application where charging time may matter. This connects directly back to item 7. Propane is your thermal energy reserve. This solar battery system is your electrical energy reserve. Together, they cover both categories of household energy independence at a combined cost under $200. And now for the item that costs less than a fast food lunch and sits on a Tractor Supply shelf that most people walk past without a second glance. Item 10. Bulk salt, Tractor Supply's most underestimated shelf. There is a shelf at Tractor Supply, usually near the livestock supplies, where 40-pound bags of pure sodium chloride sit for $6 to $8. These are sold primarily as mineral and trace salt for livestock. And right next to them, you will find 50-pound compressed salt blocks for $5 to $9. Sodium chloride is sodium chloride. The chemistry is the same whether the bag says kosher sea salt from a specialty grocer at $5 per pound or whether it says stock salt at $0.1 to $0.15 per pound from Tractor Supply. The same compound, the same preservation properties, the same functionality for every salt-dependent application. Salt has been the foundational food preservation technology of human civilization for over 4,000 years. Every culture that developed before refrigeration used salt to preserve meat, fish, and vegetables. Salt-cured meats were the primary preserved protein source for military campaigns, long sea voyages, and winter food stores across every major civilization in history. That ancient track record is not coincidence. Salt works. What most people get wrong is treating salt as a seasoning afterthought rather than recognizing it as a preservation infrastructure input. A 40-pound bag of TSC stock salt at $8 achieves the same food preservation function as $160 to $240 worth of premium grocery store salt, measured by weight. For a household building a serious food preservation capability, salt curing, lacto-fermentation, brining, and pickling, that price differential is enormous. Pro tip: for food preservation specifically, the most versatile salt purchases at TSC are their pure canning and pickling salt in the seasonal garden section, where available, rather than the livestock mineral blocks, which may contain trace mineral additives not suitable for fermentation. A 40-pound bag of salt from Tractor Supply costs less than a fast food meal and stores indefinitely. It is one of the highest value per dollar purchases on this entire list. Item 11. Work gloves and Carhartt workwear, the infrastructure of physical resilience. Here is a framing that most inflation prep content never touches. When inflation forces you to do things yourself, cut your own firewood, repair your own fence, build your own raised beds, process your own harvest, your hands are your most valuable economic tool. And a hand injury in a stretched economic environment is one of the most expensive things that can happen to a working adult. The average emergency room cost for a serious hand laceration in 2026, with healthcare costs projected to rise 6 to 7% this year, runs between $3,500 and $7,000 out of pocket, depending on severity and your insurance coverage. A quality pair of cut-resistant leather work gloves from Tractor Supply, Wells Lamont or Carhartt, runs $12 to $25. The gloves pay for themselves the first time they prevent a cut that would have required stitches. Tractor Supply is one of the primary retail stocking points for Carhartt workwear in rural America. Their workwear section carries Carhartt duck canvas work jackets, bib overalls, and lined shirts at prices that are either at or below what you would pay online after accounting for shipping. When you are doing the work that inflation makes economically necessary, firewood processing, garden building, general home repair, workwear that protects your body means fewer injuries, fewer medical bills, and a longer working capacity. What most people get wrong is buying cheap cotton gloves that last 20 minutes of serious work before tearing at the palm. The cheap gloves give a false sense of protection and fail exactly when the task gets hardest. TSC's Wells Lamont line in leather with reinforced palms and Carhartt's double-fronted canvas options are built for real sustained work. Pro tip: buy one size larger than your measured size for heavy glove work, which allows room for liner gloves in cold weather. And always buy 2 pairs of your primary work glove. Losing your only pair in the middle of a project is a frustrating and entirely avoidable problem. Protecting yourself physically is one layer of resilience. The next item is about protecting the knowledge and skills that make all of this infrastructure actually function. Item 12. Canning supplies, the most inflation-proof skill you can buy at Tractor Supply. Tractor Supply's seasonal section carries ball mason jars, canning lids, jar lifter kits, and in many locations, full pressure canner setups. And this combination, a pressure canner, a case of jars, and a supply of lids, represents one of the most direct and measurable inflation hedges available. Here is the economics. A pound of commercially canned tomatoes at the grocery store currently runs 1. Home canned tomatoes from your own garden or from a farmer's market bulk purchase cost approximately $0.3 to $0.6 per pint once you factor in the cost of lids, water, and energy. That is a 60 to 80% reduction in cost per unit. A full canning season, processing 40 pounds of tomatoes, 20 pounds of green beans, and a case of mixed broth saves a household $200 to $600 annually, depending on scale. What most people get wrong is believing that home canning is complicated and dangerous. The United States Department of Agriculture publishes free, tested, and validated canning guidelines through the National Center for Home Food Preservation at the University of Georgia. These guidelines are clear, step-by-step, and designed for beginners. A person with no canning experience can safely pressure can their first batch of beans within 3 hours on their first attempt, following those guidelines. Pressure canning is the only safe method for low-acid foods like beans, broth, and vegetables. This is not optional guidance, it is food safety science, and using a water bath canner for low-acid foods creates a genuine botulism risk. Buy the pressure canner. Do it correctly. The USDA guidelines are free online and also available in printed form through your local cooperative extension office. Pro tip: TSC carries canning lids in bulk packs. Buy extra lids now. They are single-use items. When you are standing at your stove in August processing 40 pounds of garden tomatoes and you run out of lids at batch 3, you will wish you had bought the extra box in April. Canning gives you food security built from your own harvest, valued at a fraction of retail cost, and stored on your pantry shelf with a 2 to 5 year shelf life. That is financial resilience that comes from a skill, not from a delivery truck. The final item on this list is not a physical product at all, and it ties together everything we have covered today in a way that multiplies the value of every single purchase you have already made. Item 13. The Neighbors Club and the TSC Sale Calendar, The meta purchase that multiplies everything. Tractor Supply's Neighbors Club is a free loyalty program. Free to join, free to maintain, and it generates meaningful savings on exactly the categories of purchasing we have covered today. Here is how it works and why it matters specifically right now. TSC runs several major sale events throughout the year tied to agricultural seasons. Chick Days, which runs March through May, brings bonus points events on poultry feed and supplies. Summer farm events in June and July feature discounts on fencing, outdoor power, and garden supplies. Fall prep windows in September and October focus on heating, cold weather workwear, and winter animal care. During these events, Neighbors Club members regularly see 5x points multipliers on specific categories. Here is what that means in practical terms. A $300 feed and supply purchase during a 5x points event generates $15 in rewards dollars, which is effectively a 5% cash rebate on top of any existing sale pricing. Multiply that across 3 to 4 major shopping trips per year, and you are recovering $45 to $80 annually, just from the loyalty program, before counting the sale discounts themselves. What most people get wrong is walking into Tractor Supply and buying at full price without checking the app. The Neighbors Club app on your phone shows active manufacturer coupons, bonus rewards events, and price promotions in real time. 3 minutes of checking before you walk through the door can reduce your total bill by 15 to 25% on any given visit. Pro tip: create a simple buying calendar. Write down the major TSC sale windows. Plan your largest purchases, bulk feed, propane tanks, large fencing projects, to coincide with those windows. This single habit, applied consistently across 1 year, recovers $80 to $150 in savings with zero additional effort beyond the planning itself. That is the meta purchase. Not a physical item on a shelf, but a system for buying everything else on this list at the lowest possible price. And in an inflationary environment, the purchasing power you protect through smart buying timing is just as real. Here is the thing I want to leave you with. None of this is about fear. Not one item on this list requires you to believe that civilization is ending or that you are preparing for something catastrophic. Every single item we covered today makes economic sense on a purely financial basis, even if nothing further goes wrong with energy prices. The eggs from a feed-buffered backyard flock cost less than store eggs. The vegetables from lime-treated, heirloom-seeded, fence-protected raised beds cost less than grocery store produce. The home canned goods from that harvest cost less than canned goods from a shelf. The propane bought in bulk at today's price costs less than propane bought in smaller increments at tomorrow's price. The salt from the livestock aisle costs less than the identical compound in a different bag at a different store. Every item on this list is a financial decision first and a preparedness decision second. And that distinction matters, because it means the time to act on this list is not if something bad happens. The time to act is now, while the prices that make these decisions financially logical are still available. Before I go, I promised you a bonus item. And this one is not on a shelf. The bonus item is a single physical notebook dedicated to your household inventory. Write down what you bought, when you bought it, what it cost, and when it expires or needs to be rotated. 3 minutes of record keeping per shopping trip builds a complete picture of your household's resilience over time. And when you look back at that notebook in 12 months and see what you paid for a 50-pound bag of feed in April 2026 versus what it costs in April 2027, the purchasing power protection will be documented in your own handwriting. That notebook is available at Tractor Supply. So is every other item on this list. You know what the sale windows are, you have the Neighbors Club loaded on your phone, and you know which shelves to look at. If you are building this out on a limited budget, start with water storage from item 8, canning supplies from item 12, and seeds plus soil amendment from items 2 and 3. That combination gives you food production, food preservation, and water security for under $150, and it builds from there. Now here is the comment challenge. Drop the number of the item you are buying first in the comments below. Just the number. 1 digit or 2. That is it. It takes 2 seconds and it tells me exactly which of these items is resonating most, which shapes the next video we make. And speaking of the next video, we are working on a deep dive specifically on backyard food production infrastructure. The exact layout, the exact species, the exact equipment you need to produce a meaningful percentage of your household's calories. That video is coming, and if you are subscribed, you will not miss it. Stay practical, stay ahead, and we will see you in the next one.